The planning conversation starts here on the Income Protection Podcast. Here's your host, Mike Cogdall and Grayson Owen.
All right, Mike, we're back. We're recording this on April Fool's Day, but I don't really have any April Fools for you, but how's everything?
Well, I can tell you one thing, we're not going to talk disability today at all.
Yeah, I guess then what are we going to be talking about?
I don't know. That was the best April Fool I could come up with in a nanosecond, Grayson. So
There you
anyway.
go. There you go. When I was a kid in Baltimore, Maryland, in elementary school, this was one of my favorite days of the year because it was like, hey, what pranks can we come up with today? But yeah, it just dawned on me as we were opening up that it was April Fool's because I looked at the date. So I thought I'd throw that out there. But how's everything in Florida, man?
Things are great, my friend. March Madness is it's almost like, for me, it's a little bit of a holy month. It really is. I also, wish everybody a, wonderful Passover and Easter weekend. But for me, right up there too is March Madness. And this year, let's just say it hasn't disappointed. I think you would agree. We wouldn't even have to talk about weather today. The weather here is perfect and nice, so that's all you need to know, other than we're in a severe drought. But if you're a basketball fan, both men's and women's NCAA, wouldn't you agree it doesn't get much better than what we've seen this year?
It's incredible. I would say your Iowa Hawkeyes, incredible run. And they had probably two of the most exciting games that I watched. And then I followed the Duke Blue Devils a little bit too, and they had a very unfortunate loss at the very end against UConn. But even though they lost, I will say it was one of the craziest March Madness games I think I've ever watched, really just due to the last 2 seconds.
Well, they're talking about is it the greatest shot ever in March Madness? And I looked at my wife and I said, I don't know. Christian Laettner still rates pretty high on the list, so I'm not really sure. Jimmy V's was more of a tip in from way back at North Carolina State, but Christian Laettner's is still etched in my memory forever as well. So it's got to be pretty high on the list because I've never forgotten the turnaround. And it was a shot, not a throw, just like this one was. It was a real shot, not an accidental thing. And when they go in, they go in.
Crazy.
Everything was perfect for the shot. The way he received the ball, and we will talk about disability. And if you don't mind, I can talk about the Duke Blue Devils and put disability into it for 1 second, disability insurance. You've got phenomenal athletes, McDonald All-Stars all around in these games. So they're just unbelievably gifted kids, unless they are kids still. They're 18 years old, most of them. Two things you don't do on a full court press is you don't dribble the ball once. I've been teaching 7th graders that for the last month because I'm teaching 7th grade travel ball. And both boozers did what? Had their backs to the basket and dribbled the ball once and got themselves into trouble. That's fundamentally a mistake that could have cost them the game. Now, something else could have happened in the last 4 seconds. But those two things right there, if you're a basketball lover or aficionado, those are things you learn right away. You turn and face your basket, right? For that way you have the opportunity to dribble. You do one dribble, it's over. You don't get to dribble a second time. You and I know, Grayson, they call that double dribbling. Same thing is true in disability insurance, fundamentals. You know what? And if we talk about fundamentals of income protection planning, I think what we should start talking about is not financial planning, I get it. Not retirement planning, but life planning. And at 22, you're not overly concerned about what your life's going to look like at 67. So fundamentally, I think you should start 22, 23, 24, 25, whatever year you get that job and you can afford. And I'm saying, you know what, if you're a barista right now, which is a great job, but you're trying to find your way and for a career path, as soon as you get that career path, you need to fundamentally do what's right. And what's right is just like in basketball, you have to turn to the basket, and if you're going to dribble, go somewhere with the dribble. Do not just dribble once and give it up. Meaning the first thing you should buy is income protection before you do anything else, because you've heard me say 1,000 times. 1,000 times. You've heard it at least 1,000 times. When was the last time somebody died and then got sick? At 27 years of age, we're not thinking about what life is going to look like at 67. As a matter of fact, I'm 65, and I'm not looking at what life is going to look like at 67. So you know what? I think we should focus on life planning and think about our young people out there, and let's say young is at least 50 and under, that this income protection is about as important as it can be as doing fundamentals in basketball. There's my dissertation for the day. What'd you think?
I think that's incredible. Great way to relate it to what's going on in March Madness basketball games. Nothing is truer than that in the DI world. It is all about fundamentals. So I'm really glad that you pointed that out because it certainly correlates back to basketball. Even though I only played basketball at a young age because I stopped growing when I hit 5'6", so there wasn't a spot for me on a team after that.
Come on, Muggsy.
I
For
shouldn't
those
make
of you that are a little older, come on, Muggsy.
I shouldn't make that excuse. I think how tall was he? He was like 5'3" or something.
I
I'm
think.
making excuses out here, I guess. So there you go. Good point. I'll make one more. I'll share one more idea around March Madness games, and I'll relate it to the Iowa Hawkeyes when they were victorious over Nebraska. And as you may recall, Mike, one of the big things that was highlighted in that game was when Iowa started their winning streak towards the end of the game. It was because
Yeah,
Nebraska only had 4 players on the court. By mistake, they left one of the players off. And because of that, they weren't able to play the defense that they were capable of playing with 5. And so somebody, I forget which player it was, but he went through and grabbed the ball, ran down the court, made a basket, and that got them the momentum to go get the win.
it
And
was game over.
yep, and I can't help but think that, insurance, one of its purposes is to play defense in our lives. And so if your clients have auto protection, homeowners insurance, they have life insurance, they have health medical insurance, but if they forget that 5th player, DI, and disability insurance, and that long-term disability claim occurs, there's no one to play defense. And so we got to think about it that way, make sure clients and prospective clients are educated and informed about this stuff so they can have the opportunity to say yes or no to this coverage.
Well, we've been talking and laughing about, like, I guess March Madness is current events. Anything else up your sleeve that you've been thinking about current event wise? Because I chat with you a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the craziest things, I know we really haven't talked about social media that much in the last couple episodes. Maybe just a friendly reminder to everybody. I've seen a lot about this Kit Kat heist where there's like 12 tons of Kit Kat bars missing somewhere, which is like an incredible story. And a lot of big brands have kind of leapfrogged off of that situation and made their own social media posts. But one thing's interesting to me is that we are in this attention media. I think as Gary Vee calls it, it's more of like an attention media than social media because it's an attention game out there. And there's many people who are probably listening to this podcast that have spent more time reading about the Kit Kat, the lost Kit Kat bars this week, or talking about it than they have talking to their clients about protecting their income with disability insurance. So just remember that all these things that are happening in social media, current events that we're talking about, they're things that can easily sidetrack us. And so just remember to make talking about DI a habit with your clients, because if you don't, you'll be sidetracked by something else and your attention will go somewhere else. So just a friendly reminder, don't forget to talk about DI.
Well, let's go down one more that's recently happened. And when it goes from Sports Center to national news in a nanosecond, and it's all over social media and doesn't stop, and that's unfortunately what happened to Tiger Woods in the past 5 days. Just had finished playing a tournament. We all know what happened. We wish I don't know Tiger Woods from Adam. I got to see him play live once, which was pretty phenomenal, and he's probably he is one of the greatest players and icon of not just one sport, but a global icon as far as an athlete goes in general. He's only 50 years old. My point is there wasn't so long ago that we would have all thought Tiger was the most invincible human being on earth. Will he ever lose a golf tournament again is what people used to say. Now they say he'll never catch Jack and those kinds of things. But my point here is there's not one of us that carries the crystal ball. You don't know what events in your life can happen that can suddenly take you away from your work, which is what's happened to Tiger. No Masters, going to go get help, hopefully, it will work. And you know what? He knows he needs the help and he's going to get it, which is awesome. He doesn't need a disability insurance policy because he's probably worth at least in excess of $1 billion. That's not the point. The point is he's no longer doing his professional. He's unable to do the substantial and material duties of his job because of a disability. We need to think that anybody could end up in Tiger's shoes for any reason at any time. That's why we are such strong proponents of this income protection planning and disability insurance. He's just another example of somebody that everybody on the planet knows that's had the misfortune of being disabled all of a sudden. Thoughts?
Well said. And yeah, it's very unfortunate circumstances. Glad to hear that he's getting help. I didn't know that, so I'm glad to hear that and wish him well. And I certainly remember growing up seeing him play, and what an incredible athlete. So I hope he's able to find his way here. So I think that's a good thing. And Mike, just to pivot here a little bit, we've already discussed kind of 3 current events, in a broad variety and range of topics here, including sports and the Kit Kat heist and all that stuff. What's interesting, which I'd like for us to touch on before we wrap up today, is how we can use current events like we just did, or storytelling with the use of current events to help relate to clients and tell the story of DI. And maybe that's something that you could help provide some insights to producers listening who struggle with having this conversation with clients. So, do you have any thoughts around that?
Absolutely. One of the most pivotal things anybody can do, the most captivating social media is a short story, right? It really is. It's a short story. We all have all these experiences all around us all the time. And it's not pivoting and trying to be cheesy. We just stated, fundamentally in basketball, we talked about what really happened, by opinion. Some other people would disagree with me. Maybe John Shire disagrees with me completely. That's fine. But it's me doing it. So this is how I present income protection, and anybody out there that listens can do the same. You can take the 3 things that we've talked about today, and you can incorporate any of those 3 into your same conversation. And it's a story that every single person at every cafe, at every corner bar can relate to. So everybody can relate to one of those 3. And what you have to do is, when you can put it in perspective, Grayson, let me call myself the everyman. I'm just an everyday run-of-the-mill normal dude hanging out, right? If you can put something like that in perspective for me and say, God, if it can happen to him, it can happen to me, it just makes the conversation for the client, potential client, friend, whatever it happens to be, it makes it a little more palatable and a little more realistic that, God, I guess that could be me. And so you should always incorporate a good 3 or 4 minute story, current event. And they're all around us every single day. They're around us every day. And you notice you and I never go down a political road or in any kind of weird road. These are just current events that pop up on our phones like everybody else. And we don't have to go where this is an argument. Whether you like Tiger or not, as one example, the facts are what they are, right? I mean, whether you like Duke or don't like Duke, the facts are mistakes were made and they lost. I mean, so it becomes as easy as that when, just 2 examples. They are what they are. And it's a 3-minute conversation. And it just helps people understand and take the left brain, right brain kind of theory and go, they have to reflect for a moment that I guess it could happen. That's where you at least open the door. You put a crack in it away anyway. Maybe you didn't swing it all the way open, and then you can start going down a path. And you and I are here, like I tell everybody, we're available for isms and conversations and starters anytime anybody wants. We're both here to help anybody that listens to us sell more income protection, actually risk protection. We don't do life insurance per se, but we both own it and believe very strongly. And I think the basis of me talking about today saying, I think we should start to think a little more about life planning than just financial planning or retirement planning. I mean, and I hope a major insurance organization, Grayson, is listening, because I think you could really captivate an audience with a commercial that says we don't do retirement planning or financial planning. We do life planning. A 27-year-old might be way more interested in that than what's it going to look like at age 67. Thoughts?
Yeah. No, I think that's well said. Another great idea. So hopefully a carrier gives you a call to discuss that further.
Pretty sure that's not going to happen, but whatever.
I mean, they have before. They'll do it again.
I just think that there's an awful lot out there that can be done. And you know what? We're just going to keep fighting the good fight and keep trying, my friend.
And remember, financial planning starts with a risk protection package first.
And your clients are counting on you. See you on the show next time.
All right, my friend, be well.